Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin, if you are new. Welcome to my kitchen. Today, I want to share with you some tips and recipes for hosting a beautiful St. Patrick's Day dinner. Here's the menu. I'm serving a gorgeous green broccoli soup with goat cheese for the first course, beef stew with dark beer and bittersweet chocolate, plus mashed potatoes for the main course, and Irish cream cupcakes with Irish cream frosting for the grand finale. We are starting with the broccoli soup, which you can make 2 or even 3 days ahead of time. Now, I selected this soup because it's one of the most delicious and certainly one of the greenest soups in my repertoire. And I learned the recipe from Gordon Ramsay. So what I have here are a couple of crowns of broccoli, and I'm just going to cut it into florets. This is certainly one of the easiest soups in the world. All it is broccoli boiled in water and seasoned with salt. And then to serve it, you add a slice of goat cheese. It's totally delicious. Plunge the florets into a big pot of boiling salted water. Then cover the pot and let the broccoli cook for about 5 minutes or until the stems can be easily cut with a knife. Now, because we covered the pot, this broccoli has turned a brilliant shade of green, almost a jewel tone. All I have to do is fish out the broccoli and put it in my blender. And I need just enough of the broccoli broth so that we can puree the broccoli. And I'm looking to make a fairly thick puree. This is very thick, probably too thick. Thin it out with a little more of this broth. I need to transfer this puree to a pot. I want to have a taste. I know the texture is just perfect, but I want to make sure the taste is perfect. This is perfectly perfect in every way. All I need to do is let the soup cool to room temperature. Then I will cover it and pop it into the refrigerator. And then tomorrow, before we serve it, I will show you how to serve the soup. For the main course, I'm doing beef stew with beer and chocolate. I have friends who were born and raised in Ireland, and they've told me that they never had corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day. So I think the corned beef and cabbage tradition is probably American. If you live in Ireland, please let me know what you like to have on St. Patrick's Day. Now, I need to do a little prep work. I will link the recipe for this Irish stew in the description below. To start, I'm peeling and roughly chopping 2 onions, 3 fat carrots, and 4 parsnips. I like to freeze the trimmings from my carrots and parsnips. They are terrific for homemade vegetable stock. Peels can go into a Ziploc bag. I often freeze yellow onion skins too, but we used a white onion today. The yellow skin turns the vegetable stock a very pretty color. cutting the carrots into about 1-inch pieces. I can save the tips and the ends from the carrots and parsnips too for stock. Then I need some bacon, and we cut this into thin strips or lardons. And one more thing to prep is the beef. So this is just cut up stewing beef. And I need to dry it in paper towels. So this meat is already cut up, but I need to pat it dry with paper towels so that it will brown properly. Wet beef does not brown. I'm going to cook the stew in my Dutch oven, but I want to first brown the bacon and the beef and the vegetables in my electric skillet, simply because the skillet has more surface area. A little glug of avocado oil. And while we wait for the oil to heat up, I want to season the beef with salt and pepper. And in goes the bacon. We need to cook the bacon just until it browns lightly and renders its fat. All right, the bacon has lightly browned and it has certainly rendered its fat. So now we can transfer the bacon to the Dutch oven. And then in goes the cubed beef. And the beef is nicely brown, so we can transfer it to the Dutch oven. And finally, I want to brown the onion and carrots and parsnips, just to give them a little caramelization and some added flavor. And if I didn't mention it earlier, you can make this stew several days ahead of time. It actually benefits from cooking and then refrigeration and then reheating. It's a host-friendly stew. The liquid from the onions is helping me to deglaze this skillet. Deglazing means you pull up the stuck-on bits, which are loaded with flavor. And we can transfer all of these gorgeous vegetables to the Dutch oven. Here's the fun part. You can add 1 large can of beer. This is a dark beer. I also need 1/3 cup or thereabouts of coffee. This is from this morning's perk. A small squirt of honey. Beef broth. Dried thyme leaves. And 1 ounce of bittersweet chocolate. You won't even taste the chocolate in this stew, but it does bring out the coffee aroma, and it enhances the aroma of the beef and all of the vegetables. We can bring this stew to a boil on the stovetop, and then I will thicken the liquids with cornstarch. While we wait for the stew to come to a boil, I can prepare my cornstarch solution. So it's a generous tablespoon of cornstarch blended with just enough water, cold water, to make a smooth slurry. When the stew comes to a boil, stir in the cornstarch solution. The cornstarch will thicken the liquids in this pot very quickly, in less than 1 minute. And then you have a choice. You can cover the pot, lower the heat to a simmer, and let the stew simmer for from 1.5 to 2 hours, or until the beef is meltingly tender. Or you can preheat the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit and transfer the Dutch oven to the preheated oven for 1.5 to 2 hours. I think I'm going to use the oven route today. Already my kitchen smells just fantastic. So while the stew is cooking, we might as well set the table in the dining room, and then tomorrow we can make the mashed potatoes and the dessert. I'm dressing the table with a pale green cloth that my mother sent, plus matching napkins. For a layered look, I added a simple tan and white table runner. I can link this runner in the description box below if you are interested. Water glass, red wine goblet, and a crystal cordial glass. The cordial glass is for those who want a little Bailey's Irish cream to accompany their dessert. We can use this soup tureen to hold our flower arrangement. And our stew is ready. My whole kitchen smells just incredible. Look at this. Beautiful. Now, I do want to test the beef for tenderness. Oh yes, super tender. I need to let this stew cool to room temperature with the lid off. And then, once it achieves room temperature, I will put the lid on and pop the stew into the refrigerator overnight. Sweet dreams, friends, and I will see you tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. Well, yesterday we made our first course soup and we made our main course stew and we set the table. Today I wanted to start with the dessert, but it's only 9:22 in the morning. I need Bailey's Irish cream for our cupcakes, and the liquor store does not open until 10. So let's arrange flowers instead. Fortunately, the flower store opens before the liquor store does, so I was able to obtain some pretty flowers this morning. Cover my work surface, and we can arrange the flowers in the soup tureen. This makes a great centerpiece. Since these flowers will last well beyond St. Patrick's Day, I didn't want to buy anything that, well, screamed St. Patrick's Day. I have a lot of greens, and we are going to try to make a crown around this tureen. And I'm going to use this Italian ruscus. My friend David, who works at Chatham Flowers, had this idea of making a crown. And these stems are very flexible. I have these little staples here. Oh, that worked. And I want my revolving cake stand. I have wet floral foam in this tureen, which is how I'm making the flowers stick. And I want to add some greens. So this is Italian ruscus, this is regular ruscus. And I want to keep this arrangement fairly low so that people can see each other across the table. So let's see how this shows in the dining room. Before we head into the dining room, I want to mist these hydrangeas. Here we go. Going to clean up my workstation. I'm going to save these greens because I can use them in another flower arrangement. Greens last a really long time. And then it's 9:52, so the liquor store will open in 8 minutes. I will grab some Bailey's Irish cream, and then we will make our Irish cream cupcakes. Luck of the Irish, my local liquor store had Irish cream. So now we can get started on the Irish cream cupcakes. The recipe comes from a website called Taste of Home. I've never made these cupcakes before, but they certainly sound wonderful. I will link the recipe I'm following in the description below. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. So I need butter. And again, I will link the recipe I'm following in the description below so you can see measurements. Butter and sugar. And then I need to cream the butter and sugar until they turn light and fluffy. That will take about 5 minutes. Now we need 2 eggs at room temperature. And I will beat well after each addition. Unsweetened applesauce. Pure vanilla extract. The recipe indicates that the mixture will look curdled at this point, and it certainly does. Then we need flour, baking powder, and salt. Whisk. And it's time for the Irish cream. Oh, this smells wonderful. And then we add the flour mixture and the liqueur alternately. Give this a good final mix with a spatula. And I have my silicone muffin molds here. So this recipe apparently makes 24 cupcakes. Certainly not going to serve 24 cupcakes tonight, but we will see how many we eat. I bought these muffin molds for the beaten eggs that we froze for food security last week. So this is my first time using them for actual cupcakes. One of the benefits of the molds is that you do not have to spray them with grease, nor do you have to use muffin liners. That's a big win in my book. We need to bake these cupcakes until a skewer inserted in the center comes out clean. That will take from 18 to 22 minutes. Here are the cupcakes. They smell wonderful. I certainly didn't do a great job of measuring the batter equally among the openings. But that's okay. We are going to frost these as soon as they've cooled. These come out of the silicone mold effortlessly. Onto the frosting. I need softened butter, softened cream cheese, and then we beat the cream cheese and the butter until they are light and fluffy. Then I need 6 tablespoons of Irish cream. And confectioner's sugar. This is the confectioner's sugar that you and I made together in the previous episode. I want to pipe this frosting onto the cupcakes, just for looks. I forgot, I need to put my piping tip in here first. I'll use the star tip. think these cupcakes will be more frosting than cake. And really, who can complain about that? Lizette is here, so we are each going to try one of these cupcakes. Here you go. Are you starting with the frosting?
I just took a bite into it.
You took a bite?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like that it's not too bready.
You know what? It developed a crisp top. The cake did.
Yeah, super yummy.
I kind of like that. I really wasn't sure about these cupcakes when I first took them out of the oven, but now I realize they are mighty delicious. Our first course is done. Our main course stew is done. Our dessert is done. The only thing left to do is to make the mashed potatoes, and we can do that very quickly. I always make my mashed potatoes with dried potato flakes because honestly, they produce the very best mashed potatoes. I love them, my guests love them. So I need 1 3/4 cups of water. That's 414 mils. 3 tablespoons of butter. 1 cup of milk. That's 240 mils. 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And 2 cups of the potato flakes. This is a half-cup measure. That's 110 grams of potato flakes. And you can make this mixture way ahead of time and just refrigerate it. I simply cover mine with cling film. And all this needs is 6 minutes in the microwave. Well, maybe 8 minutes if you've refrigerated it. And you don't have to stir anything until after you've cooked the potatoes. It is 12:30 now. My guests are not due until 5:30. So I will bring in some firewood and then we can lounge and luxuriate until dinner time. I'm back. I just remembered that I have the remains of the fantastic beer bread that you and I made together a couple of weeks ago. I had tucked this into the freezer, and I think it will be a perfect accompaniment to our main course tonight. So this is a yeasted beer bread, and I made it with Guinness Stout. So I'll let this thaw and then cut it up and add it to our dinner menu. And I will see you very shortly before my dinner guests arrive. Shortly before my guests arrived, I reheated both the broccoli soup and the Irish stew on the stove top. Also, I cooked the mashed potato mixture in the microwave oven. To serve the soup, I first ladled it into teacups. Then I garnished the soup with a round of goat cheese and a sprinkling of black pepper. I garnished the mashed potatoes with freshly snipped chives. To serve the stew, I first placed a mound of mashed potatoes on each plate. Then I ladled the stew over the potatoes and garnished it with a sprinkling of minced fresh parsley. I can tell you that everyone loved the first course soup and the main course stew, and we positively swooned over the Irish cream cupcakes. Again, I will post the recipe in the description box below. My guests have departed, and I can tell you that this was an incredibly successful early St. Patrick's Day dinner, and it was so easy to put together. My only job now is to load up the dishwasher. Thank you for joining me today, and if you like this video, please be sure to tap the like button, and please post a comment below because I love hearing from you. And until next time, please treat yourself very well. Please try one or more of today's recipes, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now, friends. And please have yourself a very happy St. Patrick's Day.